Imagine having like a highly trained team of research assistants, a senior editor, and I don't know, a master computer programmer just sitting right at your desk.
Right.
And they're ready to work for you for free, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
It's crazy.
For most of us, I mean, that sounds like pure science fiction. But for one information science researcher in the United States, it is just, a normal Tuesday. Today, we are unpacking their exact blueprint. Welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah, it's great to be here. The document we are looking at today is truly a window into a completely different way of working.
It really is. We have this fascinating firsthand account to explore with you all. It is titled Episode 03, My Daily AI Usage. And it was written by a PhD who studies information science. And honestly, that background is key because this person spends their life studying how information moves, right?
Yeah.
How we organize it and how we interact with it.
Exactly. So their perspective on artificial intelligence is incredibly grounded. It's not just hype.
Right. Our mission today for this deep dive is clear. We're going to explore how AI has shifted from being just like a novel tool we play with occasionally to becoming a completely essential everyday part of studying, working, and growing.
And the author sets the stage right away with a very strong claim. They state that we are entering a new AI era.
Yeah.
And they don't mean that in a futuristic robots taking over the world kind of way. I mean, they're talking about a fundamental shift in our daily habits. Ever since tools like ChatGPT became widely available, the whole landscape has just changed.
Completely.
People are using these systems for writing, learning, coding, searching, summarizing, basically solving any problem.
Yeah.
It's not just a calculator you pull out of a drawer for a specific math problem. It's an environment you operate inside of.
Right. And to really understand how big this shift is, I think we should contrast it with the old way of doing things.
Okay? Yeah.
Because in the past, if you had a complex question, the default behavior was, well, you open Google, you type in some keywords, and you get a list of links.
And then the real work begins.
Yes. You have to click those links, read through multiple articles, filter out the noise, and piece the answer together entirely by yourself.
It was a very manual process of gathering information. You were basically acting as your own filter.
But the modern approach, the one detailed in our source material, is to just ask the AI first. Instead of hunting for the pieces of the puzzle across 10 different websites, you ask the system to build the puzzle for you.
And that is the core of this new era. The system doesn't just point you toward information, it processes the information for you. It summarizes, it compares, it explains.
This shift kind of reminds me of how navigation has changed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like not that long ago, if you wanted to drive somewhere new, you had to unfold a giant paper map.
Oh, man. Trying to fold those things back up.
It was the worst. You had to find the roads, trace the route with your finger, and constantly look out the window to make sure you didn't miss a street sign.
Right.
All the cognitive load, all the heavy mental lifting was entirely on the driver.
Yeah, you had to manage the navigation and the driving at the exact same time.
Exactly. But today, you have a live GPS right there on your dashboard. You just tell it your destination. It actively guides you, tells you when to turn, warns you about traffic.
It's seamless.
It is. And that is what AI is doing for information right now. It's moving from the paper map to the live guide. It's sitting in the passenger seat of your workflow.
That's a really perfect way to frame it. And since our author is a PhD student, it makes perfect sense to start our exploration right where they start their day, which is the classroom. Or more specifically, the process of learning really difficult, complex new things.
Let's dive into that. So the first major section of their blueprint is all about redefining the classroom. They use AI as a personal study assistant.
Yeah.
Now, when you are in higher education, or really any time you're trying to learn a dense new subject, you constantly hit a wall of difficult material. The author specifically mentions things like long academic articles, thick textbook chapters, and highly complicated mathematical formulas.
And those materials are notoriously hard to absorb. There's a reason for that. Academic writing is designed for extreme precision, right? Which usually means it relies heavily on abstract theories and very dense, specific jargon.
Oh, absolutely. The vocabulary itself becomes a barrier.
Exactly. When you read a complicated academic text, your brain uses a massive amount of energy just trying to decode the words.
Yeah.
You're translating the vocabulary before you can even begin to process the underlying concept.
It's exhausting.
It's like trying to learn how an engine works while someone is explaining it to you in a language you only half understand.
So how does this researcher solve that problem? Well, they use a very simple but incredibly effective method. They just ask the AI to explain the concept in simple language.
Yeah, the text highlights one specific prompt they use all the time, which is, can you explain this formula with a simple example?
I love that prompt.
That specific prompt, can you explain this formula with a simple example, is brilliant because of what it forces the AI to do. It forces the system to strip away the dense jargon. And by doing that, the AI completely removes the translation barrier we just talked about.
It takes the concept out of the academic language and drops it right into everyday life.
Yes. The author notes that this makes the learning process much faster and far more intuitive. When you use a simple, everyday example to explain a complex theory, you allow the brain to grasp the core mechanism first.
Right.
And once you understand the core mechanism, well, adding the complex academic vocabulary back in later becomes so much easier.
Wait, I really love this idea. So instead of fighting through the dense text to find the meaning, you get the meaning first in plain English.
Exactly.
Then when you go back to the dense text, you already know what it's trying to say. You're just learning the formal names for the things you already understand.
Precisely. You are learning the concept and the vocabulary in two separate steps, rather than trying to struggle with both of them at the exact same time.
The author actually builds a formal routine around this idea, right? They describe a very specific two-part study cycle. Listeners, if you are a student or even if you're just trying to upskill for your career, pay close attention to this.
That's so useful.
The cycle consists of two phases, pre-study and review. Let's look at the pre-study phase first.
So, according to the text, before the author attends a class lecture or before they sit down to read a particularly difficult paper, they do a pre-study session with the AI. They basically ask the system to provide a basic overview of the topic.
They get the lay of the land before they start walking.
Exactly. This prepares the brain. It builds a foundational framework so that when the professor actually starts speaking or when the dense reading begins, the student isn't completely lost.
It's like looking at the picture on the front of a puzzle box before you open it up and dump all the pieces on the table.
Oh, that's good.
Right. The picture doesn't put the puzzle together for you, but it gives you a crucial framework. When you pick up a blue piece, you know it goes in the sky, not the water, because you saw the big picture first.
That's a great analogy. The pre-study builds the picture on the puzzle box.
Yeah.
Then, after the class or after the reading, the author moves to the second part of the cycle, which is the review.
And this is where things get really interactive. They don't just review their own notes. They actively ask the AI to generate review questions and quizzes based on the material.
The author uses these custom-generated quizzes to test their true understanding. They ask the AI to summarize the key points and then literally challenge them on those points.
Okay, let me pause right here and push back a bit.
Sure.
I'm putting myself in the mindset of a traditional teacher. If a student is using AI to summarize the difficult reading and they're getting the simple version before they even try to read the textbook, isn't there a huge danger here?
What kind of danger are you seeing?
Well, the danger of just taking the easy way out. If we use AI to break down every difficult text, isn't that like having someone else chew your food for you?
Okay, I see where you're going.
If someone else chews your food, your jaw muscles never get strong. If the AI is doing all the heavy lifting of summarizing and simplifying, don't we lose our ability to wrestle with complex text? Do we lose our mental muscles?
That is a very valid concern, and honestly, it's a super common fear when introducing this kind of technology into education. But if we look closely at how this specific author uses the tool, we see a very different dynamic. The AI is not chewing the food. It is acting, as the text specifically calls it, as a personal study assistant.
How does that distinction change things?
Think about the role of an assistant. A good assistant prepares you for a meeting, but they don't go to the meeting for you.
Right.
The pre-study step is preparation. It builds that puzzle box framework we talked about. But the student still goes to class. The student still reads the material. They just read it with a prepared mind.
Ah, I see. So the scaffolding is there, but they still have to actually build the building.
Exactly. And the proof that they aren't getting lazy is the second step, the review quizzes. If the student just wanted the AI to do all the work, they would read the simple summary and stop there.
Yeah, that's true.
But the author actively asks for quizzes. Quizzes are hard work. They force the brain into active recall. You can't fake your way through a quiz. You either know it or you don't.
That makes a lot of sense. The quizzes force the brain to work hard and prove that the knowledge actually stuck. So when used this way, AI isn't making the student lazy, it's actually making the study session far more active and effective.
Yes, it prepares the mind, and then it tests the mind. That is a highly active form of learning.
All right, I'm sold on the classroom application. But taking tests and studying existing textbooks is one thing. That's dealing with knowledge that is already established. What happens when we move beyond the textbook? What happens when we are dealing with the unknown?
That transitions us perfectly to the next section of the author's blueprint, navigating the frontier of high-level research. We are moving from learning what is already known to discovering what no one knows yet.
Right, and for a PhD student, this is their actual job. And the author points out a major challenge right away, the sheer speed of academic research. It moves incredibly fast.
It really does. Across the world, there are thousands of brilliant minds publishing new papers, introducing new methodologies, and developing new tools every single day.
Yeah.
The text makes it clear that it's virtually impossible for a human researcher to keep up with every single development just by reading.
Right. If you spend all your time reading everyone else's papers, you never have time to do your own research. So the author uses AI as a filter and a navigator. They use it to search for frontier technologies and to understand the big picture of a specific research area.
They use the AI to process a massive volume of new papers quickly. It helps them summarize these papers, compare different research methods side by side, and even look for gaps that might suggest new directions for their own work.
The source material actually provides some fantastic specific prompts that the author uses to achieve this. And if you are listening and you do any kind of deep research, whether for academics or business analysis or market research, these are great questions to borrow.
Absolutely. So first, the author asks the AI, what are the main methods in this field?
Which establishes the baseline. Then they ask, what are the recent research trends?
That shows them the direction things are moving. And crucially, they ask, what are the advantages and limitations of this method?
I love that last one. It forces the AI to be critical, to show the weaknesses, not just the strengths.
Right.
These prompts don't ask the AI to just spit out facts to copy. They ask the AI to map out the entire landscape. It gives the researcher a high-level view before they commit to diving deep into a specific topic.
But the author draws a very sharp boundary here. And this is perhaps one of the most important points in the entire document. The text states emphatically that AI cannot replace careful academic reading.
I have to admit, though, that boundary must be so incredibly tempting to cross.
Oh, for sure.
Imagine you have a stack of 50 dense, boring academic papers on your desk. You know the AI can summarize all 50 of them in a matter of seconds. The temptation to just read the summaries and call it a day must be huge.
It would certainly save a ton of time.
Yeah.
But the author knows that true research requires human depth.
Let's use an analogy here. Sending the AI out to read 50 papers is like sending an advanced scout ahead of you into a vast, dark forest.
Okay, I like this.
The forest is unknown territory. The scout runs ahead, comes back, and says, okay, I've mapped it out. There's a clear path to the left, there's a dangerous swamp to the right, and there's a steep cliff straight ahead.
So the scout gives you the map of the dark forest.
Yes. The scout tells you where the paths are. But here's the critical part. You still have to put your boots on and walk the path yourself. You can't just look at the scout's map and say you've explored the forest.
That perfectly captures the author's warning. You must walk the path yourself. The text insists that the human researcher still has major responsibilities. They must go back and read the original papers. They must personally check the sources. They must verify that the information is accurate. And most importantly, they must apply their own critical thinking.
Because the scout might be wrong. The scout might have thought a shadow was a bridge. If you just blindly step where the scout tells you, you might fall right off a cliff.
Exactly. The AI is a tool used to save time, to organize complex ideas, and to clear away the brush. But it is not a substitute for the final, deep thinking. The final judgment and synthesis always belong to the human researcher.
Okay, so we've covered the intense world of studying, and we've mapped the dark forest of academic research. But let's bring this down to earth for a minute. Academic research is a very specialized field.
Yeah, true.
A lot of our listeners are not writing a PhD thesis. They're just trying to get through a busy Tuesday at the office.
Well, the author's blueprint covers that too. The text makes it clear that AI is just as valuable for ordinary, everyday tasks as it is for high-level theory. Let's look at the daily grind.
The daily chores of professional life. The author outlines how they use AI to draft emails, to polish their writing, and to organize documents.
Email is a perfect example. Almost everyone listening has to deal with drafting and answering emails every single day. It consumes a massive amount of time.
But there's a very specific detail in the text that makes this use case incredibly interesting. The author points out that they are a non-native English speaker.
Yes. This adds a whole new layer of value to the tool. For a non-native speaker operating in an English-speaking academic environment, communication can be a source of constant friction.
Oh, definitely.
The author states that AI is highly beneficial for improving their grammar, adjusting the tone of their writing, and fixing the structure of their sentences.
Tone is such a tricky thing to master in a second language. I mean, knowing the difference between a polite request and a demanding command over email is so subtle. The AI helps them ensure their communication sounds professional and appropriate.
And the workflow they describe is really simple. They write the initial draft of the email themselves, so the core message and the intention are totally human. Then they ask the AI to polish it.
Nice.
And this doesn't just save time. The text points out that it actually helps the author learn better English expressions over time. They see how the AI rephrases their words, and they absorb those lessons.
Wow. But the daily grind isn't just about sending emails. The author also uses AI for deeply technical work. They use it to write code, to work with data in Excel, and to run data analysis using languages like Python.
Right.
And this leads us to what I think is honestly the most brilliant insight in the entire source document. It's about how the author handles mistakes.
Yes, the habit they've developed for dealing with broken code or messy data is fascinating. When most people write computer code and it throws an error, the immediate instinct is to just copy the error, paste it into the AI, and say, fix this.
Oh, I am 100% guilty of that. When a spreadsheet formula is broken, I just want the machine to fix it so I can finish my task and go eat lunch.
Yeah.
I just want the answer.
It's the path of least resistance. But the author doesn't do that. When they encounter an error, they don't just ask for the final code. They ask the AI to explain the process of fixing it.
Explain the process. Those 3 words completely flip the dynamic.
They absolutely do. By asking for the process, the author transforms the AI from a basic repair tool into a real-time, interactive skills trainer.
Wow.
The text highlights that this specific approach allows the author to learn the underlying logic while they're solving the immediate problem.
It changed the entire relationship with the technology. It makes me think of like a scenario in a software company. Imagine you are a junior coder and you get stuck on a bug. You call over the senior developer.
Okay.
If the senior developer just grabs your keyboard, types out the fix in 10 seconds, and walks away, well, your problem is solved, but you learned absolutely nothing.
Yeah, you'll just have to call them back the exact same time it breaks next week.
Exactly. But imagine a different senior developer. This one pulls up a chair, points at your screen, and says, okay, let's look at why this broke. Walk me through your logic here. If we change this variable, what happens down here?
Right, they guide you.
Yeah, they force you to type out the fix yourself while they guide you. That is called pair programming, and it's how you actually get better at your job.
That is a phenomenal comparison. The author is basically using the AI as that second type of senior developer.
By asking, explain the process, they are demanding a pair programming session instead of just a quick fix. They are using the tool to actively build their own human capital, their own skills, rather than outsourcing their skills to the machine. That is such a mature way to interact with technology.
It really shows a focus on long-term growth over short-term convenience.
Okay, so up to this point, everything we have discussed, the study assistant, the research scout, the email editor, the coding partner, these are all examples of how AI functions right now, today.
Yes.
But our author is an information science researcher. They don't just study how we work today, they look at where the technology is heading. So what is the next frontier?
The text points to a very specific future development. The author states that the future belongs to something called AI agents.
AI agents. We need to define this carefully because the text makes a very clear distinction between what we use now and what an agent is. The author says agents are much more than just chatbots.
And this is a critical distinction. Most of the AI tools the general public uses today act as chatbots. A chatbot relies on a single interaction model. You ask it one question and it gives you one answer. The transaction is complete.
It's like walking up to the information desk at a large mall. You say, "Where is the shoe store?" The person points and says, "Down the hall on the left." You say, "Thank you," and you walk away. Boom, done. One question, one answer.
Exactly. But an AI agent operates on a completely different level. An agent is designed to execute complex, multi-step workflows autonomously.
The source text gives a mind-blowing example of what an agent workflow looks like. Let's break this down. The author says an agent can be given a high-level goal, and then it can independently go out and collect the necessary data.
It just goes and finds it.
Right. Once it has the data, it can analyze it. After analyzing, it can generate visual charts and graphs. Then it can write a comprehensive report summarizing the findings. And finally, and this is the craziest part to me, it can review its own report to check if the results are actually reasonable.
When you lay it out like that, you realize it's not just answering a question. That is the complete management of a project from start to finish. It's stringing multiple complex tasks together without needing a human to prompt it at every single step.
The author seems incredibly excited about this. They believe that in the near future, everything, websites, software, industrial machines, mobile apps, will integrate these agents. They'll become active partners in business, in education, and in our daily lives.
The text paints a picture of a very integrated future, where these systems are working quietly in the background, handling complex chains of tasks.
Okay, I have to step in here because this is where I start to feel a little bit anxious.
Uh-oh.
Well, if an AI agent can independently decide how to collect the data, and then it does the math, and then it designs the charts and writes the text, and it proofreads its own work, what on earth is left for the human being to do?
You're worried about the human becoming obsolete in that workflow.
Yes. Think about my earlier analogy about the car and the GPS. Right now, the AI is the GPS in the passenger seat. It gives directions, but I am still holding the steering wheel.
Right.
But this agent concept, this sounds like the AI has moved into the driver's seat. It's steering, accelerating, and braking all by itself. Does the human just sit in the back seat and take a nap?
It's a very natural reaction to feel that way. But let's look at the specific language the author uses. The text repeatedly uses the word partner to describe these future agents. It never uses the word replacement.
A partner. Okay, let's unpack that.
In a successful partnership, there is a division of labor. Both sides bring something unique to the table. If we go back to your driving analogy, the agent might indeed be the one physically operating the vehicle. It's handling the mechanics of driving. But who decided the destination? Who decided why the trip was necessary in the first place?
The human in the back seat.
Exactly. The human sets the overarching goal. The human provides the strategic purpose. In the example of the data report, the agent can crunch the numbers and draw the charts, but the human has to decide what questions the report is trying to answer.
I see.
The human decides if the final report actually solves the business problem they are facing. The agent executes the heavy lifting, but the human provides the direction and context.
So the human elevates from being a task worker to being a strategic manager. The agent is your highly skilled, tireless team. You tell the team what the grand vision is, and they go execute it.
That aligns perfectly with the author's vision of AI as a partner. It doesn't replace human intent, it amplifies it.
But here's the thing. If AI, whether it's a chatbot or an agent, can do all of these complex steps, it fundamentally changes another huge part of our daily lives. It changes the very foundation of how we look for information.
Yes, it does.
The era of the traditional search engine is going through a massive shift.
And this brings us to a major behavioral change described in the text. The author states that AI acts as a new generation of search engine. And they use a very stark phrase to describe this transition. They call it the death of keywords.
The death of keywords. That is a heavy statement. Let's think about how we have all interacted with the internet for the last 2 decades. We were trained to think in keywords.
We really were.
If your sink was leaking, you didn't type a full sentence. You typed "fix leaky pipe" under sink video.
You broke your problem down into search terms that a database index could understand.
Right. And then the search engine would spit out millions of blue links. Then the manual labor started. You clicked the first link. It was a terrible article full of ads. You click back. You clicked the second link. It was a plumbing company trying to sell you a service. You clicked back. You clicked the third link, found a forum from 2012, read through 20 comments, and finally found your answer. The search engine only indexed the data. It was up to you to synthesize it.
It was a time-consuming, highly manual process of navigation and extraction. But the text states that in this new AI era, that process is obsolete.
Completely.
The AI doesn't just point to information. It searches, it summarizes, it compares, and it explains the answer directly to you in natural language.
So instead of giving you a map of the library and telling you to find the book yourself, it just hands you the exact paragraph you need.
Yes, you move from navigating a chaotic web of independent links to having a single conversation where the synthesized answer is delivered directly to your screen. It is undeniably faster and more efficient.
And there's always but the author provides a very severe warning right here. It is arguably the most important safety instruction in the entire document.
We need to make sure this is absolutely clear. The author states, we must not blindly trust everything AI says because it can make mistakes.
And this is where the shift away from traditional search engines becomes dangerous. Think about the old way with the blue links. If you opened a website and it looked sketchy, or it was full of spelling errors, or it was run by an untrustworthy organization, your human intuition would kick in.
Right.
You would say, I don't trust this source, and you would click away. You were actively evaluating the credibility of the information provider.
You had visual and contextual clues to help you judge the truth.
Exactly. But with an AI, those clues are gone. The AI just gives you one beautiful, grammatically perfect, highly confident answer. It sounds incredibly sure of itself. If we aren't clicking links and we aren't checking the original websites, isn't it dangerously easy to get tricked by an AI that is simply making things up?
That is the exact danger the author is warning against. AI systems, by their very nature as language models, are designed to produce text that sounds plausible and authoritative.
Right.
When they make a mistake, what the tech world often calls a hallucination, they don't sound confused or unsure. They present the error with absolute, unwavering confidence.
So if the machine sounds perfectly confident even when it's wrong, how do we protect ourselves?
The author points out exactly where we must apply our caution. The text insists that human judgment is still vital, and it specifically lists several high-stakes fields where we cannot afford to just blindly accept AI answers.
Which fields?
Those fields are research, health, law, finance, and professional work.
The stakes dictate the level of trust. If I ask the AI to recommend a fun science fiction movie to watch this weekend, and it accidentally makes up a movie that doesn't exist, who cares? It's a mild annoyance.
The consequences are zero.
But if I ask the AI for advice on an odd pain in my chest, or how to write a legally binding contract, or where to invest my life savings, and it hallucinates an answer with absolute confidence, that is a catastrophic disaster.
Precisely. The author is reminding us that while the tool is incredibly powerful at synthesizing information, human judgment must remain the final safety net. You cannot turn your brain off just because the answer arrived quickly and looked professional. In high-stakes situations, you still have to verify. You still have to do the work.
So as we look back over this entire blueprint, from the study cycle to the dark forest of research, from drafting emails to managing AI agents and facing the death of the keyword search, we need to summarize this researcher's core philosophy. It actually boils down to a very simple, balanced attitude.
The author captures it perfectly. Embrace AI, but use it wisely.
Embrace AI, but use it wisely. It is an optimistic view, but a highly pragmatic one.
The text recaps the sheer versatility of the tool. It acts in different roles depending on what the human needs. For students, it serves as a patient, customized tutor. For researchers, it is a tireless research assistant. For everyday workers, it is a productivity tool that polishes communication and code. And for creators, it is a collaborative partner.
It is a mirror that reflects whatever intention you bring to it. And I want to address you, the listener, directly for a moment. As we reach the end of this source document, the author points out something very profound about the timeline of this technology.
Yeah.
They believe that in the very near future, AI will become as deeply embedded in our society as the internet or the smartphone.
Think about your relationship with your smartphone today. You don't marvel at it. You don't think about the incredible satellite networks required to make it work. You just pull it out of your pocket and use it to check the weather. The author is saying AI will reach that level of invisible, everyday utility.
The text is clear on this point. The key question is not whether this technology is coming. It is already here. The shift has happened.
The real question, the one the author leaves for us to ponder, is how can you use AI wisely and responsibly in your own life?
That is the challenge you have to take on today. Will you use it wisely? Will you use it to build that puzzle box framework for your learning? Will you ask it to explain the process so you can grow your own skills?
Or will you take the easy way out?
Exactly. Ask for the final answer and blindly trust whatever confident mistake it hands you.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to linger on the author's very last piece of advice. The final instruction they give the reader is to ask better questions.
Ask better questions. That is a really compelling place to end. Why do you think that is the ultimate takeaway?
If we think deeply about the mechanics of this new era, If an AI system can instantly pull together all the facts, summarize any textbook, and generate a perfectly written essay in seconds, then simply possessing the right answer is no longer a rare or valuable human trait.
Oh, wow. That shifts the entire paradigm of education and intelligence. For centuries, having the right answer memorized in your head was the very definition of being smart. The person who knew the most facts got the highest grade.
Exactly. But in a world where answers are cheap, instant, and universally accessible, the value of human intelligence has to shift. If the machine can supply any answer, perhaps our true value simply becomes our ability to ask the right questions.
If the AI is this incredibly powerful engine capable of going anywhere, the human question is the steering wheel that gives it direction. An engine without a steering wheel just crashes into a wall.
Precisely. The quality of the output is entirely dependent on the quality of the input. So the final provocative thought to leave you with today is this. In a future where we never have to struggle to find an answer, what happens to us if we forget how to ask good questions?
That is a deeply unsettling but necessary thought to chew on. We started this hour talking about maps and GPS navigation. The GPS is an absolute miracle of technology. It can guide you flawlessly through a city you've never visited.
Right.
But the GPS is completely 100% useless if you don't know where you want to go. You still have to ask that fundamental question, where to? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the daily usage of AI. We hope this blueprint helps you navigate your own journey into this new era. Keep learning, stay critical, and above all, keep asking great questions.